Today we are here with my good friend Tim from Timbro Photography, and he has this 2014 Chrysler 300 SRT. And what's special about this one is, well, it's an SRT, but also has, 155,000 miles.
155,000 pretty unforgiving miles, to be honest.
It has not lived an easy life, which we'll get to one of the major consumables that occurred with this vehicle. So today is going to be what it's like to own a 155,000 mile Chrysler 300 SRT. We'll start off with the basics of the powertrain, and we'll start talking to Tim about what it's like to own. We're kind of combining two videos into one. 6.4 liter naturally aspirated V8. Makes 470 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. We have a 5-speed auto. This is rear-wheel drive only.
Correct.
As you have demonstrated by taking some corners at a slight rotational angle. You couldn't get all-wheel drive on this thing at all, right?
You could with the 5.7.
Oh, okay.
You could get it with the V6 or the 5.7 all-wheel drive. The reason that you can't get any 8-speed car is because they don't have the adapter for. They just haven't figured out how to set up the all-wheel drive with the 8-speed and a V8.
Okay.
But with the 5-speed, you could do it because of Mercedes-Benz.
Gotcha.
The parts were there already.
Okay.
So you can do an all-wheel drive 5-speed with a V8.
Of this generation, it was rear-wheel drive 300
Correct.
SRT.
Yep.
And this is a very classic American implementation of a vehicle. You take a big, heavy luxury sedan and let's just put the big motor in it and make it go quick. It's got adaptive suspension. We're currently in sport mode now, so the dampers will firm up a bit. In comfort, it's quite, not wallowy, but it's comfortable.
It actually does, at certain speed, it just kind of shimmies a lot when you're in comfort because it's very, very soft. But a lot of times when I'm going to be doing higher speed, I just throw it in sport simply because it's just a lot more stable.
Cool. This is a very interesting example of a muscle sedan because this formula has been used a lot in the Germans. We've got friends with M5s and E63s and stuff, but this is kind of the American take on it with a V8. What made you buy this car?
Essentially, Breaking Bad made me buy this car.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
the plate?
Yep, exactly. Yep. That's why the plate says Heisenberg. I was watching the 5th season of Breaking Bad, and Walter White bought this car.
Yeah.
I think it was in 2012, so it was the debut of the first year that they had this body style. And I had always liked the 300s before, and as soon as I saw that pull up, I was like, oh my God, I have to get that car. So I'm in high school, I go on Google immediately, I type it in, I'm like, ready to look at the prices, 60 grand.
Ooh, yep.
So it was not going to happen for at least a long time.
But now you finally have it.
Yep.
So do you mind sharing the price at which you bought this example?
Yeah, sure. So I got this car for $18,000, which is a pretty unbelievable value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes at some risk, of course.
So let's talk about what occurred with the engine.
So these engines, every single V8 that's attached to an automatic transmission from Chrysler, outside of the 6.1 V8 that was in the early SRTs, has cylinder deactivation. It's called MDS. So what will happen is over time, the lifter can fail. Basically, the hydraulic roller will lock, and then the cam will beat the roller until it breaks the lifter and falls into the engine and destroys the engine.
Oh my.
I actually know.
Interrupted by Hemi. Do you actually know what happened?
Yeah, so I met a guy with a 2012 300 SRT with 30,000 miles who had a lifter fail.
Oh.
He had a hydraulic roller lock.
Holy crap.
It can happen extremely early, and that's kind of the risk you play with the 12 to 14 SRT cars.
So therefore, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's just more or less is a calculated risk on, it affects the Jeeps, it affects the Chargers, it affects the Challenger. Anything with that 392 and an automatic transmission has it. So if you're planning to get anything with that motor from the time, that's not a manual transmission car, so anything inside of the Challenger, it's not a stick, you would have to be prepared to spend some money on an aftermarket camshaft that deletes the cylinder deactivation.
So what happened to this car's engine?
So previous owner at and this is actually a better example. At 120,000 miles, the lifter broke and fell into the bottom end and completely wiped out the entire engine. So despite the chassis being higher miles, the vehicle has a 2016 392 motor from a Challenger SRT that had a manual transmission, which means the engine in this car no longer has cylinder deactivation. So we're at about 35,000 miles on the engine, 155,000 miles on the chassis and transmission.
Interesting.
So all things considered, it's a pretty solid car mechanically now. There's always that risk of what if, because you never know what the Chrysler lifters and valve train issues. But, you know, I bought the car, and with all the work done and every single option for the vehicle, it had the black chrome package, so the window surrounds, or there's no chrome, the black chrome grille surrounding, no chrome on the taillights. The 14s actually have a slight smoke to the taillights, so that's a difference that the 14 has specifically. But fully loaded, engine swapped already. Engine's also tuned with the shelf tune from Diablo.
Okay.
So it'd probably be around 500 to 510 crank horsepower.
Okay.
And all that for $18,000 in this condition.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. It has wear and tear. It has lived a life.
Yep.
I don't know where I am anymore, Tim.
You're good. Just keep going. I know where we're at.
We found a bridge.
Yes.
Hopefully this is not too heavy to break the bridge.
It's actually what I thought when I drove over this bridge the other day.
Oh, we're going to exceed the weight limit because it is a big, hefty car.
Yeah.
It's fun, actually. Like, it sounds good. I've seen you drive it while I was in other cars around it, and you've told me it handles actually decently well given size and weight.
And we can actually pop it into track. So now we're firmed up. It's going to be a little bit sharper on the shifts too. It's going to be actually pretty assertive.
You were right about the brakes also being very
late,
soft.
Yeah.
Oh, that is actually, it's like it's for a torque converter and a 5-speed.
Yeah.
It'll give you a little click.
It's off the line, you have to, generally speaking, if you're in second, you're dead in the water.
Okay.
You have to be in first.
Gotcha.
So off the line when we turned there, you were in second.
Yeah, it didn't really.
Because the gears are first is to about 40.
Okay.
Second is to 80.
Okay.
Third is to about 130. So it's long gears. It's really long gears.
And as a naturally aspirated motor, it is 40 to 70 pound-feet of torque, but compared to like these new twin turbo engines where you're supercharged, there's nothing down low.
Well, that's a matter of, you should probably feel the car in first. And it's super bucky in first if you...
Whoa. Tires just chirped on the shift.
Yep.
Interesting. So we have different wheels and tires in this car,
Correct.
which has transformed the personality. So what did you do there?
So I actually cracked the stock wheels somehow, and the problem is the stock wheels is they are actually very small in width. They are 20-inch wheels, but they are 245 sections squared.
Oh,
so
they're really narrow.
That's extremely narrow. And the reason why they did that is because legally they could not get a wider wheel without extending past the arches.
Okay.
So I think you can probably fit a 255 legally, but they just wanted to stick to the original formula.
Okay.
So that being said, this vehicle is now equipped with 275 squared Hellcat OEM brass monkeys.
OEM, they're not reps.
Correct. And that front end plow understeer is gone in the corners. It's gone.
Okay.
It completely transformed the handling of the car.
It also looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
Got way better rubber, wider.
Yeah. It's actually worse off the line than the other wheels because I think it's because of the tires. The tires are they are better for corners than they are for the straight line.
Okay.
So that's why you get a lot of wheel hop and wheel spin off the line.
Is there anything you don't like about this car?
Honestly, over the time that I've owned it, there's one daunting issue with it, and it's just the trans. It's a 2004 transmission in a 2014 vehicle. That's the problem.
That's pretty bad.
It's just when you consider it really should have had the 8-speed, but if anything, it's a stout, reliable, strong transmission. This thing is putting up with 500 horsepower, and it's been putting up with roughly that number ever since it existed. We're at 155,000 miles. Transmission doesn't skip a beat at all.
All right. That is a very good endorsement of the transmission in this car.
And that's really the pro.
Yeah.
The problem is the rest of it is the gearing and the speed of it.
Yeah.
But if you leave it in sport and you let it shift itself off the line from first, it's actually a rather quick transmission.
Okay.
All things considered at the age.
So, if we talk about this thing holistically on the inside too, that's some good. You've mentioned a couple times.
Oh yeah.
You got a lot of tech in this car.
You get a lot of tech, and one of my favorite features of this car is when you look at the competitive CTS-V, I think this has a nicer layout.
Okay.
At the time, the CTS-V is a way faster, way more capable car, platform, engine, transmission, way more capable than this car. But I have to say, I feel this interior is better than the 2012 equivalent CTS-V.
I would say even just regular, like a 300, has a nice interior layout. It's got, this is early Uconnect. This is old, but even then it's still good. We've got the SRT gauges where we've got G-forces and you have the dyno thing, but a quarter-mile timer and a little digital display screen in the middle.
You're in first and you're in track still.
A lot of carbon fiber.
If you want to shift it to auto, you can just hold the paddle and it will go back to drive.
We are back in drive and it immediately went into eco mode.
Yeah, so eco mode is the sign on an MDS engine, so a cylinder deactivation mode, that your cylinder deactivation's on.
Yes.
Whenever that's on, the car, that's just the way they program the car with the non-MDS engine now. It just comes on, it means nothing.
Okay.
I'm still getting 13 mpg. There's no eco mode in this car. So.
But yeah, back to the screen. You got G mode, all the G-forces, all of that type of stuff.
Engine dynograph as well, which is pretty sweet.
Which they still have in the newer Hellcats. But what are some downsides? We have the carbon fiber trim that you said this is the common issue with all of them?
All of them peel. All of the carbon fiber peels in this car.
Okay.
I suspect that it's actually been warrantied already and been replaced once before.
Okay.
So it's already peeling again, but then again, temperature changes and time and mileage has an effect on the trim pieces in the vehicle. It is a Chrysler product, and you know, I just think you have to kind of know what you're potentially getting into. Half the battle is finding these cars. They're extraordinarily rare. The other half of the battle is finding them in acceptable condition. Okay. That's going to be your biggest battle. When I found this car, I couldn't believe the price and for the swap and this interior. I've seen 30,000, 40,000 mile cars with worse interiors than this.
Honestly, you got a little bit of wear of leather on this armrest, the trim carbon in the middle, but otherwise, like, it
all
feels
the other
nice.
Carbon trim is fine.
Yeah, and
it's
it's
just
real carbon.
Yep.
And you've got the dual pane sunroof. It's got space in the back, heated rear seats.
Heated and cooled cup holders.
Yes,
as well.
heated and cooled cup holders. That is a very fun feature.
It's horrible for bottles. It's great for cans.
Oh, really?
Don't drink and drive, but I mean, like cans of soda, it's fantastic.
Yes, obviously, cans of Coca-Cola.
Yes.
No endorsement there whatsoever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the big body luxury American sedan that has some performance to back it up. It is unique. They're rare. 19 speaker Harman Kardon sound system.
Yep.
So what about the core? We should talk about that.
The SRT core?
SRT core, yeah.
So the core was a stripped down version of this vehicle. I think they made 50 for 14. They're extraordinarily rare. But the problem is I don't find any logical sense in buying the core, because what the point of the core is it was trying to get the entry cost of the vehicle down. You got Charger SRT wheels, which I think look worse.
Okay.
And you got no leather. It was all cloth.
Cloth seats.
Cloth seats, no sunroof, no options. Here's the interesting part, though. The core, so if these cars don't have options, it's a 3,900 pound sedan.
Okay.
That's actually not bad.
That's not bad at all.
The performance sedan segment is typically around the 4,000 pound mark. But 4,000 pounds or 3,900 pounds is not bad. But in my opinion, you don't buy this car for
lightweight track work. That's not the point.
You want the luxury. That's the whole point of this.
Okay, that does make sense. I did remember reading about this SRT core, and I was like, what is that? And you talked about it the other day. Let's flip a U-turn and head back the other way.
Let me put it in sport. Oh, it's in sport now.
I have it in sport now.
If you throw it in first, and by the way, if you put it in first, it will shift itself.
Out of first?
Yeah, it will do it all itself, but it will rev hang. So if you're flooring it, it will shift itself in the gear, but it will, if you go into third and you lift, it's going to stay in third until it downshifts. So, yeah.
That is crazy tall gearing, like. Yeah,
it's really tall gearing, and it kind of nulls the acceleration, but this car's got a lot down low. Okay. You just have to experience it in first. You just have to kind of, we're in a time where you don't have to even think to use transmissions.
Yeah.
This is when you have to kind of think to use. Yeah, this is, you're definitely going to feel more of the torque.
It is bucky. All right. For 20 grand, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome.
And this was something I was mentioning to you before. I kind of was struggling to figure out why this car really was even here. For the price point, you get a CTS-V. It's a superior vehicle in every aspect.
Even like a G8 or something.
Yep,
would be also
exactly. The Chevy SS was actually the direct competitor for 2014, and to be honest, in terms of technology and performance and handling, it's in the league of its own compared to this.
I love the Chevy SS.
This is the difference, though, is that this is a car for Mopar guys who don't want to be Mopar guys, if that makes sense.
Elaborate.
So what I mean by that is sometimes it gets a little old. I've been around a lot of Mopar guys. They're not all the same, but it's more of a car to separate yourself from the pack, and to be unique. And you just, I don't know, it's a little bit classier. It doesn't have so much gaudiness to it. It's something that can blend in and be a high-end vehicle if you wanted to, but I just think that it's a little bit separated from the rest. And in a time where everyone's trying to be unique in a Mopar, I think this is really the only way to be unique in a V8 rear-wheel drive SRT product.
I think that's a really good point. It's a classy, unique car. It is definitely the most rare.
Yeah. The Magnum SRT would probably beat it by quite a margin. Yeah. About 1,500 cars. Yeah. But as far as the modern stuff with actual tech and things like that, this is easily the rarest one.
Well, I wish you many, many more miles of happiness with 155,000 miles. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
When you told me how many you had when you bought, I was like, holy crap. And then you're like, yeah, it's on its second motor. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I bought it with 135, and the engine had already had 15,000 miles put on it at the time. So now we're at about 35,000 on the engine. So I've put about 20,000 plus miles on the car.
So to answer the final question of what it's like to own a 155,000 mile Chrysler 300, big smiles.
Yeah, big smiles. Reliable, actually. With this setup, it's been reliable. I've never had mechanical problems. It needs a little bit of front-end work expected for a 155,000 mile heavy car. Yeah. But other than that, it's been reliable. I've had an AC compressor go out, but that's it.
That's good mid-range power there. I was just like, yeah, this is a nice combination for sub $20,000.
If you can, where you want to feel this car is 60 miles an hour, second gear.
Oh, really? Like on a freeway?
Oh, my God. Okay. It's just relentless power. Relentless power.
Some things rattle, but it has 155,000 miles on it.
That's actually the exhaust. So, another thing to mention, this is a 16, so it has a 16 exhaust manifold. Okay. And what happens when you combine a 14 exhaust to a 16 exhaust manifold is that the exhaust manifold on the 16 engine is lower than the whole system. So there's a little bit of play. So that's where you get that wobble in the exhaust sometimes when you're going over exhaust. I actually broke exhaust clamps doing that because sometimes it wobbles so much it just shears the clamps.
Not perfect. Wait, you have adaptive cruise control?
Yep. Yeah, that's another thing. It's got radar cruise.
Oh, that was that little sensor up front. And we have blind spot warning.
Yep. It's got a lot of technology.
That's impressive.
For the car.
Yeah. That is impressive.
All things considered.
Yep, for that price point. Well, that is what it's like. Make sure you check out Tim's Instagram. I'll link it below. He not only does he have a cool, unique Mopar, he takes amazing photos. The RS6 pictures turned out really, really nice.
Thanks, man.
They looked awesome. We will hopefully do future updates with Tim. I see him around. I'm actually for it. All right. We'll do future updates with this car, other things, because we hang out a good amount as we mutually make fun of our friend Mike. And with that, we'll end this video. Thanks for watching, guys.
See ya.